I've been censored by my own cat. He won't let me speak. He said he's had enough of my stupid left-wing half-baked nonsense. Kia, will you just... Kia, I'm trying to be professional here. Aren't I? Honestly, just... Right, comments. Charles Albertini. I love you, Owen, but your cap-holding finesse makes me feel odd. I'm getting a lot of comments about this. Michael Tiley. I don't like the way Owen drinks his tea, that is all. Right, you've given me a complex, so well done, everyone. I now feel extremely insecure about my cup-holding abilities, so good. Practice my own time. Alberto Barbaso, hi. Owen, are you a Hillary or Bernie supporter? I'm feeling the Bernie Sanders for me. I think the Clintons are a very effective, powerful machine, political machine, but there's this huge discontent sweeping the Western world at the moment. And at the moment, you know, it's going in one or two directions, in an either kind of hopeful, progressive way about building a society in the interest of the majority, or in a kind of politics based on fear and going on about immigrants and Muslims eating your kids.
He wants to give away our country, folks. He wants to give away. We're not going to let it happen.
What's fascinating about Bernie Sanders is he's a septuagenarian, so he's the most unlikely icon of youth. But in the primaries that have already taken place, he's overwhelmingly attracting younger voters, under 30s, between 80 and 85% of them are opting for him, but even people in their 30s and often in their 40s as well. But broader than that, I think, actually, when people say, oh, he's not electable and so on, well, firstly, amongst Democratic voters, the gap has, according to a recent poll, which Hillary, you know, there was a huge gap. Hillary Clinton was massively ahead of Bernie Sanders. Well, that's now almost a virtual tie. But interestingly, the polling said that in a matchup between Bernie Sanders and one of the prospective Republican candidates, Bernie did better than Hillary Clinton. And that included with Donald Trump and so on. And I actually think at the moment there is a huge amount of discontent in the United States. The fruits of the so-called economic recovery have ended up being concentrated in a very small group of people's bank accounts. You've got a political system there which is basically bought by big money, and he's trying to crack that open. So, you know, he could resonate with a lot of people, and I know of stories of people who, you know, kind of they're torn between supporting Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. Sounds unlikely, but I think there's a lot of discontent in the United States. So for me, it's Bernie Sanders, but even if he doesn't win, he wins, in my opinion, because he's galvanised such a movement that if Hillary Clinton was to become the nominee, that movement's not, well, I hope it won't go away, and hopefully, if she becomes president, that will help force onto the agenda issues from tax justice to not having a foreign policy that leads to the calamitous invasion of Iraq, which of course Hillary Clinton supported. So, you know what? I'm feeling that burn. Lots of other people, they're all feeling the burn. Brainwashed Daisies. Hello. Hi, Owen. How do you feel about being a University Challenge question? I've made it. This is it. Honestly, the excitement people had when Jeremy Paxman asked...
What term was used in the title of a book of 2014 by Owen Jones?
And they got it right, instantly.
Subtitle...
Young Shirley de Lotbiniere.
The establishment.
I was proper chuffed about that. That was, but also, no, that wasn't my proudest moment. That was a question on Pointless. Jackwood C97. Hi. I must say, you do seem to nod your head a lot when interviewing people, almost like Churchill the dog. Oh, yes. Matt. Owen now has a brew in his rider for every interview. No brew, no deal. Well, actually, I also insist only on blue M&Ms, 3 puppies, obviously champagne, because I'm a champagne socialist. And what I do is not drink it. I don't drink the champagne. No, I put it in a bath and bathe in it. Number 94. Hello. They were hardly likely to be drinking children's blood and knitting plutonium bombs while a camera was there, were they? But the moment you turn your back, referring, of course, to Momentum, I just want to know, I'd love to see plutonium bombs being knitted. Is that what it's come to? Blimey, the threat to national security, people can just sit in the living room, just knitting away. You see all these, grannies and all granddads knitting away, and you think, oh, it's a nice little cosy little jumper for their grandson. No, it's a plutonium bomb, which is going to wipe out civilization.
Then fires the missiles!
Mike Rees. No way would I get involved in politics. Anarchist leanings aside, I would be ruined by the press from day one. I've been leaving a naive trail on the web since 1999. Well, Mike Rees, you sound like a human being to me, because, when you grow up, you don't think, oh, well, I better really really be careful about everything I say and do because, you know, in my 40s, I might be run to be a politician and the press might just go through everything. And that's an interesting point because you still get now the media going through people's private lives and things they did when they were much younger, such as shock horror taking drugs like a lot of people in this country do. But also, yeah, we live our lives increasingly online. So, you know, whether it's photos you're not that happy with or you're just developing and growing up as a human being, that is there for everybody to see. And yeah, I think you end up with only kind of vacuous, sanitised politicians who are kind of robots, if we go down that route, who, you know, have led these totally unblemished life with, you know, always these sanitised views and opinions and never done anything that could be construed as bad behaviour. Is that good for politics? Of course it isn't. Will Gardner, hello Will. When did you realise you were gay, Owen? Fantastic video, BTW, by the way. Owen, as per, kiss, got a kiss, cheeky little kiss. Well, thank you for the compliment. Yeah, coming out stories, always a fascinating one. Well, for me, I think, like a lot of people who realise they're gay, they go through a bit of a, you know, take the scenic route, which I did. So I only came out and I said I was bisexual, and that kind of ruins it for genuine bisexuals because of the buy now, gay later thing, as the phrase goes. So I had lots of girlfriends at the time, and I suppose, you know, if I went back, I probably realised in my early teens, but I just, you know, as Ollie said, you kind of think, oh, life's kind of a tough gig as it is. I don't need that extra layer of complexity. But I remember coming out to my parents when I was 24, took a while, and it was over dinner on Christmas Eve, and I've got a twin sister, and she was like, tell them, and my mum said, you don't have to say anything, and I said, there's someone I want you to meet, and then said, he's called, and I won't say his name, and she kind of malfunctioned. She went, that's okay. She wouldn't stop saying it. So I had to think of something to say, and I was like, oh, and he went to this private school. And then both my parents said, oh no! And they were kind of half joking, but then they went, yeah, so anyway, so you know what, I think you don't just come out once, you have to come out lots of times in your work-related world, to your friends, your family, all the rest. And all I say is, at the time, it does genuinely feel like, oh no, my world's going to end. And you look back and think, fine now. And things are much better now because back then, when I was a teenager, and I am 31, just to remind everyone, there was still Section 28 in school, which prohibited the so-called promotion of homosexuality. So it was never, in practice, that meant you just couldn't talk about stuff to do with LGBT people. So I had none of that in school whatsoever. The age of consent was still different. You couldn't have civil partnerships, let alone marriages, of course. Laws against discrimination hadn't been put into place. You'd be turned away by B&Bs. So things have changed a lot, and that's because people fought and struggled for it. So I always say I owe everything because life is so much easier for people like me than it was 30 years ago, and that's because people fought at great cost and great sacrifice. So I am eternally grateful for them. So yes, that's how I realised, a bit convoluted. But I say this because actually it's about giving other people hope, because there might be people watching this thinking, oh, I just don't want to come out because it's hassle. But life does get a lot better when you can feel honest about it, and you will find people will be very supportive. Thank you very much for your comments. They were great as usual. Well, some of them weren't, but and keep them coming. Subscribe if you like, and I'll see you next time.